right, this is practice on placing rational and irrational numbers on a number line and just understanding where certain irrational numbers would be placed. So our first thing is we want to estimate these radicals, and this is the radical sign, and we want to look at the number underneath. If it is not a perfect square, meaning a number, there's a whole number times itself that gets this, this is an irrational number. So without a calculator, we're going to determine which two integers each of the following radicals below falls between. So again, remember integers from the other day. Your integers are your whole numbers and the opposites. Okay, so which two integers? So for example, if we had the square root of 36, well, 36 is a perfect square, so that would equal 6. But then we have a square root of 50. So we want to think the square root of 50, what's the largest perfect square that's right below it, and what's the largest perfect, or what's the a perfect square above it and below it is what I meant to say. So we have square root of 50. So you can use your yellow square root chart, but think about you have the square root of 49. That's a perfect square. And what's the other perfect square after 49? Well, that's going to be 64. So the square root of 49 is 7. The square root of 64 is 8. And so 50 is going to fall between the two numbers 7 and 8. Now, if you'd like, look at which one do you think it's going to be closer to? And you're right, it's going to be closer to 7. It's going to be real close to 7 because it's just 49 to 50. So here you're putting whole numbers that they're in between, the integers. So square root of 130, look at your chart. What's the one right below, like below 130? And what's above it? And put those numbers there. This one down here is you're looking at all of these and you're placing them where they would go on the number line. So, for example, let's do square root of 17. Well, the square root of 17, square root of 16 is right below it. Square root of 25 is above it. So square root of 17 is going to be between 16 and 25, the square root of these. Square root of 16 is 4. The square root of 25 is 5. So we know it's going to be between 4 and 5, but let's look. Square root of 17 is real close to 16. So it's probably going to be a little closer to 4. So when you place it, make sure you do that and make sure you put the square root of 17. Okay? Don't put number 1, number 2. I want to see the actual number of square root of 17 here. Okay? Square root of 7. Think about where the square root of 7 would be. Where would that fall in between? Now watch these negatives. That negative, so they're going to be on the negative side. Pi. Now, hopefully you know that pi equals a very famous 3-digit number, like we usually estimate that to 3.14. So that's going to be, this is 3.5 here. So think about 3.14. It's going to be a little bit above 3. So that's what you're doing. Now this one, you might have to check your yellow sheet. Instead of the square root of 27, you're taking the cube root. You're looking for what number times itself 3 times to give you 27. It's not 9, so be careful. This one, you probably haven't seen this yet, but think about the square root of 100. Think about what that is, divided by 3. What would that be? Where would that be on the number line? Okay, so some of them might be really close, so do your best. You might have to go above and below to write the numbers, so work on that. Then on the back side, you are comparing less than, greater than, on which is which. So you're going to have to probably look at some and decide, okay, which is going to be greater, which is going to be less. So this might take a little bit of time, especially if they're not perfect squares. Like this is going to be square root of 16, that's 4. Well, is 4 greater than or less than 3 9/10? Well, it's greater than. Okay, so you might have to use a little bit of top and bottom here to get those estimating. And then putting these from least to greatest. All right, here's the deal though. I know a lot of us want to just use a calculator because it's faster. But here's the deal. On your math test, you're probably not going to be able to use a calculator on some. So you're going to have to do it. Now this, I wouldn't even worry about computing. Square root of 38 and square root of 42, they're both square roots. That 38 is less than 42. Okay? So kind of look at it. Some of them you can probably rationalize it out. That's going to be 4.5. And that's a little bit over 4. So some of them you might, and check some of these. So some of these you might not even have to, like that one, you don't even have to work at all. That one you can do. So anyway, that's what you want to do with that page. This is going to take you a little bit longer down here.